Hey everybody, Chad Kaler, field agronomist for Beck's Hybrids in East Central and Northeast Illinois. Today I want to talk about our elevated risk right now with black cutworm and the potential for black cutworm to cut our corn plants on emerged fields. Now, one of the things that will lead to increased or elevated levels of black cutworm pressure every year is allowing fields to green up in the spring prior to planting. If you had fields that greened up either with winter annuals or with cover crops before you got in there to spray a pre-plant burn down herbicide or work with tillage, and some of those fields greened up across the territory and we allowed those to grow, those are good egg laying sites, unfortunately, for the black cutworm moths to come in, those adult moths to come in and lay their eggs. After so many heat units accumulate throughout April and May, we tend to see those eggs hatch into larvae, and those larvae will become our pests that we need to watch out for this time of year. Right now, as you can see on the screen, we have projected cutting dates from the moth capture project that's run by Kelly Estes at the University of Illinois. And you can see that right now we're in the time where we need to be scouting our fields for the evidence of black cutworm feeding. So what you can see on that map is the last week in May and the first week in June. Roughly those 10 days is prime time to really be seeing any potential black cutworm feeding that's out there. So what we want to look for first is going to be pinhole feeding in some of the leaves. And if we see pinhole feeding in some of the leaves that go across that leaf in a straight line, that's evidence of that leaf was fed on early on by a small cutworm and then that leaf is unfurled. The worst part is if those black cutworm larvae are allowed to grow and get larger, they will potentially cut that plant off, usually at ground surface level. And that will cause reduced stand or uneven stands depending upon where our growth stage is at. In a cornfield like this, it's at V2, we would see some of those plants most likely grow back, but it would be a very uneven stand. Now, even if we've planted hybrids that have good seed treatment like Escalate with Nemasect, we have some activity against black cutworm larvae with Escalate and Nemasect, but it's not something we would totally rely on for black cutworm control. We also have hybrids that have traits that give us protection against black cutworm larvae. But the real thing we need to look for is basically every field, and we need to look for those cut plants. So no matter where if we have traded corn that has Herculex 1 above ground insect protection, which would provide good black cutworm control, or also Viptera, which would provide good black cutworm control, the elevated hybrids that would be at most risk would be non-GMO, straight Roundup Ready, anything that has an A3 designation with Beck's, also the BR designation with Beck's, and also anything with V2P, the double pro hybrids. So if you have any of those hybrids and you did not put granular insecticides such as Aztec or Force, those would be fields that would be much more at a higher elevated risk, especially if they were allowed to green up with winter annuals or cover crop this spring. One thing I would recommend to do is go out to scout these fields. Just do like you're doing a stand count. In 30-inch rows, 17 foot 5 inches, just like you're doing a stand count. If you find one plant out of that 17 foot 5 inches, that would justify that we need to make a insecticide application. Hopefully that would time up well with your post herbicide applications. In some cases that might not be quick enough and we might need to make a separate pass. I usually recommend products that I have a lot of experience with, such as Warrior or Mustang Max. There are other pyrethroids out there. There's a long list of insecticides that would have good activity against black cutworm larvae. Let's avoid those replant issues with black cutworm larvae this year. Get out and scout your fields. If you need any assistance, contact your local Beck's representative. I'd be happy to help. Thank you very much.